Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Today on Capitol Hill, a crash course in manic Democrat Party desperation and disinformation. A wildly credible impeachment inquiry has now begun as an endless supply of evidence of corruption by our president and first family has been uncovered. Yet today was a nightmare scenario for congressional Democrats, mortified that former President Trump could cruise to victory in 2024 as more and more Americans realize the president that they were sold in 2020 is not a distinguished elder statesman, but a crooked, plagiarizing, phony shell of a politician with a handful of made-up stories and bank accounts full of filthy, dirty money from Russia, China, and Ukraine. You could feel the fear in the room today if you watched some of this. It lasted like 6 hours. Sleazy politicians showed just how low they are willing to go to hold on to power and to protect the very visibly corrupt.
We have one witness who defended a polygamist who was convicted of pedophilia and rape. And we have another witness with LinkedIn accounts with extreme views posted.
So what is this hearing actually about? It's a campaign strategy.
I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally.
Why stop at destroying child care across our country? They're devastating public health, education, social safety nets in our country. And Ms. O'Connor, you are part of it now because you came here.
Chair,
Don't say that
ladies,
you're not part.
Slamming the witnesses, doing everything that they can. I say this all the time. You deserve so much better from your government. And even the ones who arrived in Washington claiming to be a breath of fresh air from the Washington that we all hate, well, even they are totally owned by the machine, so quickly corrupted. Watch AOC setting an impossibly high bar to protect our corrupt president, asking each guest whether they have direct, firsthand evidence of Biden corruption.
Mr. Turley, I have a simple question for you. In your testimony today, are you presenting any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
No, I'm not.
No, you are not. Ms. O'Connor, you are the second Republican witness here today. Have you, in your testimony, presented any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
I have not.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Dubinsky, as the third and final Republican witness in this hearing, have you, in your testimony, presented any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
I have not.
So that is now the bar for an investigation, for an inquiry. You need to have enough evidence for a solid, unanimous conviction before you can even begin an investigation. That's the bar, I guess, for Democrat politicians. Imagine if we ran our justice system this way. You wouldn't be able to investigate a murder suspect unless a cop watched him kill the guy. Only then would you be allowed to investigate. This is what a political party looks like when absolutely gutted by an unescapable scandal. They're panicked. The evidence points to one of the worst possible crimes a politician can commit: bribery, taking money to benefit our adversaries. Those allegations are treasonous in nature. This is a really big deal, and there is a ton of evidence, and that is why today was chaos on Capitol Hill. That's why members of Congress have been willing to humiliate themselves, facing a seemingly endless supply of evidence and getting up there and just saying, as if it's somehow even reasonably possible to think this, that there's no evidence that the president was involved at all. This is how they sound.
They don't have a shred of evidence against President Biden for an impeachable offense.
An impeachment inquiry against President Biden without any evidence of wrongdoing.
I would try to discern what the allegations are for the president because they're non-existent at this point.
Nowhere in Hunter Biden's indictment is there any allegation of Joe Biden having committed any wrongdoing.
My colleagues on the other side of the aisle are at it again, holding another hearing on baseless allegations, looking for facts that just don't exist.
Oh, don't hurt your brain, honey. In case they need more than whistleblowers, Hunter text messages, business partner testimony, bank records, etc., just this week, investigators added a little more to the pile. A new text message from Hunter Biden to a Chinese communist who paid the Biden family millions of dollars. My uncle will be here with his brother, who would like to say hello to the chairman. That text message has brother in all caps in the message from Hunter Biden. He's so clever. Who could that be? Congresswoman Nancy Mace pointing out just how stupid Hunter Biden is for thinking this would fool anybody who ever ended up investigating him.
CEFC knew paying Biden family members was bad, so they covered it up. Hunter knew Joe Biden hanging out with CCP businessmen would be a bad look, so he tried to pull a genius move on us with this whole my uncle's brother bullshit.
Here's one from Joe's brother, Jim, and this is for all the there's no evidence out there. This is from Jim Biden to Hunter. This is right after a 2018 New York Times story revealed that Hunter was working with the Chinese Communist Energy Company, CEFC. Jim Biden to Hunter Biden. This can work. You need safe harbor. I can work with your father alone. We, as usual, just need several months of his help for this to work. Let's talk about it. It makes perfect sense to me. This is difficult to fully vet without talking. I can work with your father alone. You need safe harbor. The media just exposed our corruption, or at least the New York Times story exposes what we're up to. You need to hide out for a while, Hunter. I will work with Joe Biden alone. This is what the Democrat Party and the establishment media are telling you is no evidence of Joe's involvement. This is what they didn't put on television today on any of the three major networks, CNN or MSNBC. This is what they're concealing from the American people. It's insane. And to make it even worse, here was a voicemail from Joe Biden to Hunter right after that New York Times article came out, just to punch it a little harder.
Hey, pals, Dad, it's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think you're clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
I think you're clear. He had no idea what was going on, though. There's no evidence that he's done anything wrong or he had any idea this was happening. All this was happening outside of his scope. There is a full-fledged effort to get people to believe that. We are in the twilight zone. And even with all that, today's Republican witnesses were still surprisingly cautious and tempered, a little too tempered in my opinion, because I think we can all see that this corruption scandal is so horribly obvious. All three of the Republican witnesses today stated at the very beginning of the hearing, much to my surprise, that an impeachment of Biden wasn't yet appropriate. An investigation is required first, is what they said. They did admit there's plenty to investigate, and there is plenty to look at. Most importantly, the more personal bank records we have not gotten to yet. James Comer saying today he is sending subpoenas today to the president's brother, Jim Biden, and to his son for their personal bank statements. They got to find the money coming from these two going to the big guy. Of course, that request is going to be obstructed, as has most of the investigation into Biden corruption, outlined by former DOJ tax specialist Eileen O'Connor today.
To share my understanding of how things are supposed to work with people who have no reason to appreciate how disturbing the whistleblower's allegations are. Without context and a frame of reference, it's difficult to know sometimes how seriously to take things. Given the substance of the whistleblower's testimony, the plea deal Weiss had worked out with Biden was a miscarriage of justice. But Weiss had permitted the statute of limitations to expire on prosecuting provable offenses. This was appalling. The nature of any investigation is the following of leads. That didn't happen here. But the Hunter Biden investigation must not be viewed in isolation, rather as part of a broad landscape of corruption. Don't forget that a full year after that, in October 2020, FBI officials were telling Twitter that the laptop was Russian disinformation.
If you want to know how broken your government is, just look at this web of shell companies This was produced today as well. These are the shell companies Hunter Biden created to funnel money to his family from places like China. Look at how complicated that is. Can you imagine if you're just trying to get paid by the Chinese? You just say, here's my routing and here's my account number. Here's my address, which, by the way, was Joe Biden's home address. Realize that the Department of Justice, let's pull that up full screen again if we can, knew about all of this, has known about all of this for years, since back before Joe Biden was even president, back when he was just a presidential hopeful. They saw all of this, and they intentionally ignored it all for years. Can you imagine looking at that and ignoring that? Paul Manafort got 6 years in prison for operating as an unregistered foreign agent. That is just a small portion of what the DOJ has ignored regarding Hunter Biden and his father and his father's brother. Just a small portion of it. Manafort, 6 years. These are acts so egregious by DOJ that officials like Leslie Wolf, I should say, that were behind all this, that career investigators like these two right here are risking their livelihoods to expose it. That's how big of a deal this is.